Chuck Todd, NBC News chief political analyst, Kimberly Atkins Stohr, senior opinion writer for the Boston Globe, and Stephen Hayes, CEO and editor of the Dispatch. Chuck, let's dive right in. What were your takeaways?
Look, let me deal with the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I think our bosses owe you an apology for putting you in this situation, because I don't know what to believe. She is now a paid contributor by NBC News. Well, I have no idea whether any answer she gave to you was because she didn't want to mess up her contract. She wants us to believe that she was speaking for the RNC when the RNC was paying for her. So she has credibility issues that she still has to deal with.
Yeah.
Is she speaking for herself, or is she speaking on behalf of who's paying her? But once at the RNC, she did say that, hey, I'm speaking for the party. I get that. That's part of the job. So what about here? I will say this. I think your interview did a good job of exposing, I think, many of the contradictions. And look, there's a reason why there's a lot of journalists at NBC News uncomfortable with this, because many of our professional dealings with the RNC over the last 6 years have been met with gaslighting, have been met with character assassination. So that's where you begin here. And so when NBC made the decision to give her NBC News' credibility, you got to ask yourself, what does she bring NBC News? And when we make deals like this, and I've been at this company a long time, you're doing it for access to audience. Sometimes it's access to an individual, and we can have a journalistic ethics debate about that. And I'm willing to have that debate. And if you told me we were hiring her as a technical advisor to the Republican convention, I think that would be certainly defensible. If you told me we're talking to her, but let's see how she does in some interviews and maybe vet her with actual journalists inside the network. See if it's a two-way, what she can bring the network. So I do think, unfortunately, this interview is always going to be looked through the prism of who is she speaking for, right? I think you did everything you could do. You got put into an impossible situation, booking this interview, and then all of a sudden the rug's pulled out from under you. You find out she's being paid to show up. It's unfortunate for this program, but I am glad you did the best that you could, and that's why the three of us are on here to try to bolster that editorial independence.
Well, I appreciate that. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Point about credibility. As a journalist and as a lawyer, I think about credibility all the time. Credibility of sources, credibility of witnesses, and for the reasons that you laid out, and also the timing that she is only here after she got ousted from Trump's RNC. Her credibility is...
There have been attempts to book her as RNC chair in this show for years.
So her credibility is completely shot. So I have to do what Maya Angelou said. I believe what they do and not what anything that she said today. And in that, I know that she habitually lied. She habitually joined Trump in attacking the press, members of the press, including this network, in a way that put journalists at risk, in danger. And we do know that she carried water for Donald Trump, and we knew that she did participate in efforts to keep votes in Detroit from my hometown. So I take this both journalistically serious and personal, to keep the votes from mostly black voters in Detroit from being counted that night. We know that that's what she did.
Call that we were talking to her
part of that
it.
pressure campaign that Donald Trump now stands accused in the court of law of doing. So that's what I'm believing when it comes to Ronna McDaniel, not anything that she said today, because of those credibility
Stephen, where do you fall on this?
Yeah, I mean, look, on the one hand, if you've read some of the criticism of NBC that has come since the announcement, it is very clear that some of the critics just don't want to be confronted with Republican voices or conservative arguments. So there is that, and that's bad. We want to have a robust exchange between people who believe different things. But I agree with what's been said here. I mean, that's not what Ronna McDaniel is doing. That's not what she's been doing. And she has huge credibility problems, not because she's been a partisan spinner on behalf of the Republican Party, but because she not only presided, but drove the QAnonization of the Republican Party during her tenure. And it is the case that when you look at what she did with the fake electors specifically, she wasn't on that phone call because she felt bad about somebody. Donald Trump was on the call. Right. He was telling them, she was saying, we'll get you lawyers. Because the entire 6-week period after the November 2020 election was about making the case that the election had been stolen. She did a tremendous disservice to the country by making the argument that led to the erosion of faith. We've got half of the Republicans right now believe the election wasn't fair. And even today, confronted with her past votes, a straight answer until your fourth or fifth time pressing.
Chuck, final